Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Manchester United Agenda. We've got a jam-packed show for you this evening. I've even remembered to do the welcome screen. Hello, good evening. Welcome one and all to the Manchester United Agenda in this, the most glorious of weeks, international break. Mr. B, how are you?
I'm good. I'm wondering if we really do need a break. This is the final one now. I'm sure before that pathetic tournament that ruins our summers is on. But yeah, I can't do internationals, to be fair. This whole break thing is killing me. But look, we've gone in today with a win. The performances still haven't been great, but we went in there with a win. Okay, we could have been in the worst position, to be fair, than sixth in the league after all of the headache that we've had. So, you know what? It's positivity moving forward.
Well, you're known as a very positive man, and I've got another man with me tonight, aren't I, Lucky, who's very positive as well. It's the Rebel.
How are we doing, Bat Time? How are we doing? We're getting very posh today with the Manchester United agenda. We're getting our full title. But I don't know why Mr. B is so pessimistic about the international break, because you've got England. I've got to watch Ireland. And have you seen the drudge stuff that we produce? We are absolutely brutal. So count yourselves lucky that you have waistcoat ball to keep you entertained for the next 2 weeks. I have to watch Ireland.
Oh dear. Right. Well, let's see who we've got in the house tonight. First up, we've got Big T. Big up, everyone. Smash that like. Do you know what, right? I hate asking for likes and I hate writing that poll at the start because your time should be valuable enough. But we work quite hard and we'd like more people to watch. So if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, it would be appreciated. But if you wanted to tell us to piss off, I completely understand it. I hate begging. Big up Stephanie Griffiths. And Andrew's here. All right, Andrew, what's going on? Well, I'll show you what we've got on the show in just a second after we've done the introductions. Steph is saying big up, everyone. She's updating us on our likes. And Zone Media House is front-running our content by saying, typical, Juve want Sancho but don't want to pay wages. Are Man United like the DWP, a charity shop? Lol. And she's saying, evening, gents. Evening to you as well, Zoe. We got Andrew Williams saying, F the positivity. He wants it negative. We've got Regigi. Mr. B, England can win it. He can't be a glory hunter now. Imagine Rashford wins the Euros for England.
It's going to make no difference because guess what? Even if he stinks for us, he's still going to go. So if he goes and has a great tournament, oh, that's fantastic. What does it mean for us when he comes back? He's knackered. So no, I don't do international football.
I'm not even sure that Rashford will go. Like that, Raheem Sterling has got back into form and has done more on the international stage than Rashford has. But here's the comment, Rebel, that you've been waiting for. Rebel's looking handsome today. Another handsome man is Matthew Bassett, who's saying good evening all. And we got Rajat here saying, dang, man. I don't know what he's danging about. And we got DK Wilson all the way from America saying good evening, gents. And finally, it's Vincent Bullock saying hello, guys. All right. So, Rebel, this is the show that I have for us tonight. I'll just hide Vincent's comment. We've got a bit of a news roundup about minor stories going on around United. The takeover begins, injuries and training, a bit of Luton data, and the Old Trafford redevelopment. Does anything excite you there?
Well, I actually am interested in the injuries and training, I'll be honest with you. That's the one that jumps out to me as the main course of the day.
Is that why you've got your training kit on?
Bingo.
Nice. All right. But first of all, we have to pay our respects to Sir Bobby Charlton. Today was his funeral. I know that everyone will have seen lots of injuries. Lots of players past and present at the funeral. Some of you might be wondering like how Roy Keane got on with Sir Alex Ferguson, but we think that all this is a bit tawdry to try and make content out of a man's funeral. So we just want to pay our respects to Sir Bobby Charlton and go with God. What a servant for the club and what a legend.
Absolutely, and he rejoins his brother, Ireland's favourite Yorkshire man, Mick McCarthy, or his brother, the other Charlton, Jack.
What's this Mick McCarthy stuff?
I blanked.
That's all right. It happens. Okay, Mr. B. We got a bit of a news roundup here. The first thing is that Diogo Dalot was withdrawn from the Portugal squad as he and his partner are expecting a baby in the next couple of days, from Fabrizio Romano, which famously calls to mind a Roy Keane quote where a player did it for Ireland and he said, well, he's not having the baby, is he? He should be available for selection. Do you think that this is fair enough for a player withdrawing to go and see a newborn child, or should they be mucking it in?
If it's his first one, I do kind of understand. Look, everybody has different, I suppose. I've been at the birth of all three of my kids, so I don't know bath time, to be fair. I don't see if there's a right or a wrong. What I will say is, it'll give him a couple of days rest where he won't be playing. So I think it only benefits us with the state of our injuries that we're going to be talking about in a little while. So yeah, I'm glad. If put it that way, I'm glad he's coming back. Go and have a little rest at home.
Well, the next story, Rebel, is that Paul Mitchell is very likely to be Manchester United's new sporting director, coming from Ben Jacobs. We did a massive show about the new faces that we thought would come into Old Trafford with Mitchell, Braithwaite, or whatever he's called, Beresford, and Blanc. Is this exciting to you, a mid-management reshuffle?
I'll be honest with you, yeah, it's all positive news, and obviously it's contingent on other factors taking place first, but if we get to the point where we're appointing a proper bona fide sporting director, then I am all on that gravy train, because it is something that is more than needed for Manchester United Football Club, because we are the only ones that are hanging back.
I've always wondered where that expression comes from, the gravy train. Like, is it a literal thing where they used to just have trains transporting gravy around the country? Like, if someone in the comments could let me know, it's very important. And then, Mr. B, let's get off this gravy train. We got some Jadon Sancho stuff. He's been linked with Saudi Arabia. He's also been linked with a loan move to Juventus. I don't really care. I just want him gone. Like, do you have any thoughts on this?
Not much, to be fair. I was a Jadon Sancho fan when he came. I think I just want, like you, bath time. I just want, like Ronaldo left, we don't hear about Ronaldo. Green was left, we don't hear about Greenwood. I just want Sancho to go so there's no more conversations about Jadon Sancho. He's not playing for us. He doesn't want to play. So yeah, get him gone. Club, do your work and get him gone.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. He's a dead man walking, isn't he?
Sorry, bad time. Just interestingly, seeing as Mr. B mentioned Ronaldo, it's actually a year since the infamous Piers Morgan interview today.
Is it a year today?
Wow,
It?
It's gone round quick.
Tempest future. Time flies, isn't it? Like, I can't believe it's been a year. Wow. I feel so much older. Like, I was so innocent and young and optimistic back then. Now I'm just jaded. All right, let's have a look at some comments. Rajat is just clearing up that he was going dang about injuries. And Rajiji is saying that rumours are that Heath wants to clear out the old players and bring in and make a team under the age of 26 with only 2 or 3 over the age of 26 in his team. I mean, maybe we could investigate that during the week, but I mean that means Bruno, Bruno Varane, Casemiro, McTominay, Lindelof, Maguire, Shaw would all be on the chopping block.
Well, not if he's kept 2. If he keeps 2 older ones, then maybe those will be the 2 that he'll keep and build the rest of youth. Well, he could. You know what? Maybe we will talk about that in a week. To be fair, bath time.
Yeah.
Don't forget,
Oh.
Onana is 27.
Yeah, but he's
Goalies
a new
don't
signing.
count.
Doesn't
Goalies
like,
don't
it
count.
doesn't matter.
They peak at 35.
I'm quite interested by this because Rajat says Ben Jacob. Okay, and I don't know what that means because I know that on a lot of other sort of fan channels around social media, like journalism is sort of dismissed as skullduggery and that they make everything up. And I don't want to, but I don't want to sort of keep perpetuating that myth. Rebel, on the other hand, probably does. Is Ben Jacobs in your favourite journalists, Rebel?
Well, I think what you have to take into account with journalism is what they're doing is they're drawing a conclusion from the best information that they have available to them. Whether they're right or they're wrong, they don't know at the time. They're throwing a dart and they're hoping that it lands in the bullseye. As we know, they are always depending on the quality of source, and sometimes sources are prone to giving misdirection.
Yes, I'm actually pleased to say that the Man United agenda has been cultivating quite a good source at Manchester United, and in the next couple of days, we might have some absolutely wild stuff to bring to you about what's been going on over the last couple of years. So it's not a promise, but I'm working on it. And of course, Matthew Bassett and Andrew are both Andrew is saying goodbye to Bobby, welcoming Paul, and telling Jayden where to go. And Matthew Bassett's excited. He's all for Paul Mitchell coming in. Paul Mitchell over John Murtough. And where does Paul Mitchell rank amongst directors of football in football? Now, Mr. B, you're a massive fan and a director of football enthusiast. Who would you have as your top 5 directors of football?
I only want one, and I want him. I only want one. Paul Mitchell, yeah, look, he's the name that was, when people talk about directors of football, he always seemed to be, maybe not everyone's number one choice, but it's a known fact that he is a top tier director of football. As a club, we want the best of the best, or the best that we can get. Now, I heard rumours about Dougie Freedman, and I couldn't stop laughing. I really hope it is a wind-up. But if he's not, there has to be a reason why his name has come up, or why his name is in it. Is it the youth that Crystal Palace? Crystal Palace have got a pretty good scouting network, but it's London-based, so I don't understand what the connection would be with Dougie Freedman. So I'm hoping that that's just a name that's been thrown out there, and that it is Paul Mitchell, especially as he's not employed by anybody. He's just waiting for that call.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Dougie Freedman was a proper meat and potatoes centre forward for Crystal Palace. He was not a very good footballer. I think he might have scored a goal in their playoff final, and he's a bit of a legend at Crystal Palace. But the thing is that I suspect since he's been linked with us, he's very, very good at what he does. We know that Crystal Palace almost have a monopoly on that talent production in southeast London. They're building an exciting young team with the oldest manager the Premier League's ever had. So maybe if the rumours get a bit more concrete, we'll look into Dougie Freeman. But at the moment, I think local lad Paul Mitchell, especially with what Ben Jacobs is saying, is likely to be the new sporting director. And I, for one, think it's really, really positive. And then Zoe is talking about, wasn't Mitchell Ralph Ragnick's way to rebuild Manchester United? I don't think that was the case, and I hate talking about Ralph Ragnick. Rebel, where does Ralph Ragnick rank as, in your estimations?
Well, you have to give him credit for what he'd done in the Red Bull suite of clubs. He established a set of principles, but in terms of the top directors of football, there's the Dortmund lad, the Inter Milan lad, and there's one that's out of work at the moment that's not even been mentioned by anybody, and that's Mr. Edwards.
At Liverpool.
Former Liverpool, isn't he?
Yeah. So was the Inter guy Damien Commerly or someone who was also at Spurs?
Oh,
No, this
was that
guy's
it?
Giuseppe Morata.
Okay. Oh God, more comments. Could one of you two gents help out with the comments and
Yes.
star them for me?
Go,
As
go on, Rebel. I'll
there's just
star.
so much going on. So the oldest news about Jim Radcliffe coming in and taking over 25% of the club and taking over the football. But yet, has anyone said anything about a transfer budget for January? Well, Rajiji, when I was doing research for the show tonight, there has been talk of an enormous war chest for Ten Hag in January, but I consider it to be nonsense. What they will do, like in any business takeover, is they will do their due diligence, which will be the 100-day review, and there won't be any money spent until they get structures and like power structures into place. And also, Ten Hag isn't completely secure in his job. And so I think that would be the first thing that they sort out. So I wouldn't expect to see anything other than maybe a centre-back like that Todibo coming in on loan. And then we have DN Vlog saying, hello lads, how are you doing? Emma K. I always assume we would clear out the old players and bring in some youth from the academy and outside. It would take a few years, not one transfer window, as some fans expect. What do you think to that, Rebel?
Yeah, I think we have to be realistic. There's probably a number of players that need to be phased out over a period of time, because we have seen in the past Aston Villa being the classic example where they nearly changed their entire team plus their bench, and it was calamitous at the start of the season. So I don't think you can go with that approach, and we will have to be kind of pragmatic and thinking maybe 3-4 transfer windows, and whether or not those transfer windows include January windows, given United's form in January, probably not. And I would tend to agree with you as well in terms of this January, barring somebody going out and being replaced, then we probably won't have any incomings.
Yeah. Okay, we've got sub-vids saying good evening all. Rajiji said he opened our eyes to what needed to be done at Man United. Oh, this is Ragnick. Oh, Rajiji.
Did that
There's
on
only
purpose.
9 of us in here, and you can't keep up with the comments. I'm not a very gifted man, Hydro. I find it very difficult to do a lot of things, and I do my best. But yeah, I'm sorry. There's only 8 now as well. To be fair, I heard about other hands talk about Mitchell before Ragnick came in. Does Jim's 25% solve FFP? Ineos could invest whatever they want for transfers, etc. Is this correct? Rebel, do you know the answer to this?
My understanding is that it doesn't immediately solve the situation, because obviously it would all depend on what they're doing with that debt that is on the books and the revolving credit. So I'd imagine there would have to be some sort of adjustment on the books in order to free up complete credit. But as far as I know, there was due to be a spike in transfer budget next year anyway, due to payments ending.
All right. Well, my understanding of the situation is similar, except that you can have loans from owners of up to 120 or 125 million. And I'm going to shock you here, Rebel, but the Glazers never made those loans available. So if Radcliffe does inject a loan into the club, it instantly increases our transfer spending. And DK Wilson is here saying, wasn't there a rumour of Sir Jim spending 125 million on transfers? I think that's probably what it is. Right. Enough with the comments. I'm absolutely frazzled. It's time to get back to PowerPoints, Mr. B. So the first thing is actually takeover news, and it all sounds boring, but it's quite good. So Ariel Investments, who own just over 10% of MUFC's Class A shares, have filed a Schedule 13G form, Mr. B. The most exciting of forms that you can file. And this is to the SEC, which is the Security and Exchange Commission of America. And it's kind of like their it's like their financial police, basically. And what I have been told is that in the context of a football club takeover, These filings and disclosures are essential for transparency, ensuring relative parties are informed about significant changes in ownership and potential shifts in the club's direction. Investors are obligated to adhere to these requirements to maintain a fair and informed marketplace. So what this is saying is that no insider trading, stuff like that, that since they own a huge amount of Class A shares, it's very likely that there will be a purchase of Class A shares. It's so likely that it's almost certainly been agreed between Sir Jim Ratcliffe and the Glazers, the price and the quantity of Class A shares, and this, gentleman, is the beginning of the end. This is the start of the takeover. I think it's actually going to happen, and I'm excited, Mr. B.
I understand it is starting, but you were saying something earlier on about 100 days. Does that mean that he can't spend any money in that 100 days? That bypasses January, so...
No. These two different things, right? So this is the legal requirements that you have to do to when a club is being taken over. So you can't be accused of doing dodgy stuff on the stock market, because 10% of the Class A shares is a lot of money. Okay, what I was talking about was Ratcliffe is going to do an audit of the club, which is completely separate. He's going to go in and
that's
look
the
at
100
everything.
days.
Yeah. And that's very normal in takeovers, that the new board will come in and will have a look around, see where they can make efficiencies, see where the problems are, talk to people on the ground and find out all the problems. These are two separate things, but both are very constructive for our future. So I mean, Rebel, we all know your views on the Glazers. You must be delighted.
Absolutely. Now, I suppose, as you said, this is only an indication of a shift in shares. And I have been doing some digging into the other SIC forms that Manchester United filed over the last number of years. And what we have seen is this area in investments code have been slowly diluting their holdings at the club. And the form that we're going to be really interested in when it does arise is the amended statement of beneficial ownership, which is SC 13D/A, which will then indicate in full the details of the transfer of those proper shares.
Yeah, it's a shame you weren't here for the show, Rebel, where I went in depth into that form and how excited I was about it. we can't be doing this. We can't be going over how excited Rebel is about forms, or me too. Let's have a look at what the comments are. Matthew Bassett is saying, with the loans, is it similar to what Roman Abramovich did at Chelsea? The answer is both yes and no, because financial fair play didn't exist during those times. But what Abramovich did was he basically gave an interest-free loan to the club, which will be exactly the same as Ratcliffe is doing, where there'll be no interest to be paid on the loan. It won't need to be serviced. It's very unlikely that it'll ever be paid back. So similar.
And actually, interestingly, about time you mentioned about the €125 million loan. That actually doesn't mean 125 million total spend that year, because you can structure it over the 5 years of a contract. That's 125 million initial payment as well.
Right. Okay. So like the Todd Bowley method of just massive contracts. And then we've got Zoe's Media House saying, if we sell Sancho and others go to Saudi, 125 million could turn into about 200 million. Yep, I mean, one of my great worries is that the most valuable player to sell at Manchester United is Scott McTominay, because we could probably get 50 million for him, but it's all profit. And if you sell McTominay, you can look at a huge investment in the transfer market, because he's an academy boy. And then Rajiji is saying, if you get 50 million for Sancho, I mean, should I even carry on reading this? And 40 million for Casemiro, same with the centre-back, then you could put in a bigger loan by the owner, couldn't he? Yeah, you could, but I mean, we'll do very well to get a transfer fee for Sancho. You got to remember, we're the only club that has sold a player to Saudi Arabia at a loss. Unreal. And then Hydro with the usual United tax sounds about right.
We are so shit at selling players. It's
I know.
unbelievable. Oh my god.
Which is why we need a director of football.
Yeah, that great point, Rebel.
Yeah.
That's a great point. That's kind of what a director of football and a multi-club model gets you. MK saying, beginning of the end, I thought you were going to say we were going bankrupt. As I said, we've been cultivating some sources and building relationships, and you'll be like, and we could have some news about stuff like that at some point, but I can't say anymore. And Zoe Media House said, Rajiji, I wouldn't sell Casemiro until we find a perfect replacement that's better. And then Zoe's also saying the UK government wrote off that debt owed to Abramovich, so Bowley got a debt-free club. And then last but not least, we got Moss Sports World. Hey, we've been just as shite at selling too, but you are best at turning best young players to being bad. Cheers.
He's an Arsenal fan.
Is he? Yeah. Okay, good stuff. Right, so what's up next? Injuries. It does not stop, Mr. B. Eriksen is out for a month with a knee injury, and Rasmus is likely to be out until the beginning of December with a muscle strain. I mean, are we cursed? What's going on here? This is ridiculous. You're on mute, by the way.
I don't get it, Bath time. I don't get it. There has to be something happening at the club, or something that Ten Hag is doing where he's flogging the players to death, because the injuries that we've had, we've had, one or two kick ones. Obviously, the what's his name, centre back Martinez, but then he made him play with painkilling injections. So again, that was a club. That's a club. I don't get it. I don't understand. It can't be bad luck. One or two is bad luck. I mean, we've had. The injury list will come up at some stage during the show, but it's ridiculous, Bath time, and it's just not improving.
I agree. Rebel, what are your thoughts on the injuries? And do you have any personal experience from? I assume you play hurling or something equally as crazy.
I played GA and I played a bit of rugby in my day, but I ripped both my hamstrings while I was doing marathon running, of all things. So yeah, I know all about the pain of hamstrings, and I feel like we've been talking about injuries at Manchester United Football Club for quite some time, and it goes in tandem with what players have been saying and leaking about training, I think. Like, when you look at who's out injured, Casemiro, Eriksen, Hojlund, Wan-Bissaka, Shaw, Malacia. Actually, we haven't even seen him this year. Martinez, Evans, Ahmed. That's quite a significant chunk of your squad of 23, 24 players. And you got to be asking yourself, what are we doing? Is it the training, or is it our physios aren't identifying the strains early enough in order to mitigate the significance of the injury?
I mean, to injure one hamstring is unlucky. To injure two is careless. Bit Oscar Wilde for you there. But I couldn't agree more, Rebel. And look what I've got here. I've actually got our full injury list. So I know that this is probably quite difficult for people to read, but we got Carlos Casemiro. I didn't know he's called Carlos. But we got Casemiro, who is out with a thigh injury and won't be back until the 14th of January. Martinez, exactly the same sort of time. He'll be back on the 13th. We got Johnny Evans, who is out, who is injured at the moment, but according to this, will return for the Everton game. We got Wan-Bissaka, who just had a cold or something, will be back for Everton. We've got Tyrell Malacia, who could be back for Everton as well, and the same with Shaw. So things are sort of looking up for the Everton game. We could have some actual left-footers back in the team. Sancho, you just might as well just write dead. Like, he's never playing for Manchester United again. And then we've got Eriksen, who has been given a return. This has been updated for December. The same with Rasmus Hojlund. And then Ahmed Diallo. We don't have much info on his injury, but Ten Hag did say that he wouldn't be here for the first part of the season. So maybe we could see him in January at best. Mr. B is, I mean, if you could pick one of these players to just magically return, like who would you pick and why?
Martinez.
And please, Martinez.
Yeah, I'm picking Martinez.
Rebel?
I think, yeah, Martinez.
I have to agree, and I think from what I heard that Ahmed is actually closer than we think. He was seen doing training in the last couple of days, so that is definitely something to look forward to. But I do want to ask both of you a question. Is it a case, given, because I did notice in the comments that somebody said that all clubs are having massive injury lists, is it the quantum of fixtures at this stage is having a detrimental effect?
I think it was down to the fact that he last season he burnt the players out. He killed them last season. The World Cup halfway in between, yes, granted, they hardly had a break. They flew all around the world, played the most amount of preseason games, and then he wonders why we're getting injuries. So I think a lot of it is down to the World Cup. But I think the clubs could have planned it a lot better, especially United could have planned their stuff a lot better, to be fair.
Yeah, I agree with Mr. B, but I think it goes back even further, which is that when we restarted after the pandemic, or well, during the pandemic with COVID, players had the most congested schedule in the history of organised sport. It's absolutely ridiculous how many games they played. We saw Varane come and talk about how this sort of World Cup added time that started at the beginning of this season was dangerous. And I think that pretty much every club has got serious injuries. I don't know if you saw Rebel, but Kieran Trippier was like having an argument with Newcastle fans about their injury list.
Can I say?
Oh, here we go.
It's no. I'm just gonna say, it's strange how all these other clubs now we've had injuries all season, and nobody's given a flying toss that we haven't had any of our back four playing, and now all of a sudden Tottenham have got a couple of injuries. Newcastle, obviously, Trippier bitching to his fans saying, "No, it's not fair. They've got injuries." I just think they need to shut up like we did. To be fair, I don't understand why it's all coming out now. You know what? Because it's not happening to Manchester United. It's bullshit.
Look, Solo's told me that I've got to get to grips with the potty mouths on this show. So we've got to cut the swearing down, Mr. B, or you got to
that's absolutely fine. But you said PISS off earlier on. So
yeah, it's true. But would you prefer that, like, to be thrown at you, or SHIT? But I think I'd go with the PISS.
Gentlemen, I think you're both talking about very rudimentary cussing words there, so I think we should move on.
Yeah. And also, I mean, like, I think one of the funniest things that happened in the Premier League in recent times was when Liverpool opened a book of condolence for when Virgil van Dijk did his cruciate ligament, and they all went and signed it. Absolutely ridiculous. Right, let's read some comments. So, we got Rajiji saying, every team has injuries. This is down to Manchester United's owners and the manager and his team not reinforcing the first team. Better poor patrol poor. I'm confused, Rajiji, but you're back again. Haha, he almost did Vince McCone. I've tore both his... okay, sorry, maybe...
He's talking
maybe
about
this makes
Rebel.
sense.
I can actually explain that one. The Vince McMahon thing is the the McGregor walk. He used to do that going down in that WWE stuff, and he slid into the ring one day and literally, as he was standing up, ripped both his quads simultaneously. That's what he's talking about.
Wow, is that how you did it?
No, mine was just impact of running.
Did you do both at the same time?
No, separate injuries.
Okay. All right. So MK is saying everyone's got a massive injury list at the same time. Seems like it was also like this last season, just at another point in the season. Yeah, I think that everyone's, every club's got big injuries. I really wish we'd look after our players more. And DK Wilson is, I swear, guys, it's due to the travel involved with that ridiculous pre-season schedule. From February, United was playing every 3 days, and Mr. B, I think that is a great point. There was too much travelling in the pre-season. Players weren't able to recover correctly, and Bruno Fernandes played something like 5,000 or 6,000 minutes last year, which is it's insane. Do you think we should be looking after our players better, or what's going on here?
I think we should be looking after our players better, but we got to understand as well, if we looked after certain players and we lost, it's a results business at the end of the day. We've been talking that we haven't played well, but form-wise, it shows a completely different picture. And at the end of the day, it is a results business. So it's a really hard one to manage, because he wants to play Bruno every game. It looks like he's going to play Bruno every game, to be fair. Bruno wants to play every game, but at some stage, I think as a manager, you need to pull the reins in a bit. So maybe he will. But with his track record at the moment, I don't think he will. The only way Bruno stops playing is when he gets injured. So let's hope it's not going to be a bad one when it does eventually come, because it is coming.
Well, it's either that or Zoe gets her hands on him.
That time I do have to agree with the pre-seasons. It's really the commercial side is taking over there. Like back in the day, you used to be doing a pre-season against League One, League Two teams, maybe play a championship team, go up to play Rangers or Celtic, and then you might have had one big pre-season friendly before start of season. That was the way that you developed your team into kind of getting into match fitness, not by playing Real Madrid, Inter Milan, and whoever over in Yemen.
Yeah, but that was in the 80s, Rebel. We've been doing Far East tours since the 90s. I think that travelling to a country like Manchester United, a global club, aren't they? And Jeff, for example, is unlikely to see Manchester United play all that often because he lives out in America. But he was able to go to see them play in Las Vegas, I think it was, and maybe DK Wilson went as well. So I think it's important that our team travels to places like Asia, Australia, and America to sort of support the worldwide Reds, as it were. But it's more that they just flew all over America. It was utterly ridiculous. Just go and base yourself somewhere. Spend 2 weeks there, get the players sleeping correctly and recovering correctly, not just sticking them on a plane. They probably had Kobe Mainu in the overhead locker or something, save a bit of money. He wasn't on that injury list. And then we've got DK Wilson here saying, I played tennis on the ATP satellite tour primarily. Does anyone know what that is?
It's some subset of the tennis organisation. So he's playing to a pretty high level, I think, is what he's saying.
Wow. ATP is adenine triphosphate to me. But the travel took far more of a toll on my body than practicing or playing matches. Yeah, for Mr. B, I hate away games, even in Sunday League, because of the travel. It interferes with your eating, your sleeping. Got to get up early. I'm not a fan. I want to play every game at home.
Can I just say, mea culpa? It's actually the top tier of tennis.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. That's congratulations, DK Wilson. I've got huge respect for any athletes, except for darts players. They can't be athletes.
They're not athletes.
No. Moss Sports Word. Good call, Mr. B. Butcher is well needed. Maguire Evans hurts so bad or hurts so good. Ahmad was on fire before he got injured, and last season, wow, best player in the championship.
Do you think knowing how Ten Hag is that he would have played? Do you think Ahmad would have got games if he was fit, or do you think he would have got loaned out?
I think that Elanga would have been ahead of Ahmad, based primarily on physicality. I'm not sure how how good Ahmad is at handling the physicality in the Premier League. And an example is we just saw Luton, who got promoted above Sunderland, and not one of their players stood out to me. I thought even Tahith Chong, despite some nice touches, he didn't look ready for the Premier League. But what do you think, Rebel?
I have to agree with you because we saw this before. We remember a certain player that went to Everton, and it took him a long, long time to even start getting game time over there. And the other interesting thing is Ahmad primarily played in the Bruno role, I think, when he was at his best for Sunderland, and he ain't getting ahead of Bruno or Mount.
Well, I don't know. Mount's not really like Mount's. Mount's an interesting one. And then we've got Ed Mayhem. Sorry, lads, late to the show. Don't worry, Ed. Your time is appreciated. Where is Solo at, Emma? I love that Rajat thinks that Emma knows where Solo is. Then Hydra is saying, let's hope that Bruno don't leave for the oil money. Oh, I don't think. I mean, Mr. B, do you think that Bruno is
no chance?
Like that?
There's absolutely no chance Bruno's going anywhere.
Sorry, Zoe. And then UK Strains, hello sir, is saying an emotional day. Rest in peace, Sir Bobby Charlton. Something that we all echo. And then he follows it up by saying Ahmad's too small, isn't it? So what do we have next on the agenda? Now, this is something. Sorry, let me just hide this comment. This is. I went and had a little look to see what I could find out about Ten Hag's training, and I found an article from The Athletic in 2022, a couple of months after he joined the club. And this is what they said. They said, a punishing session the day after a game is nothing out of the ordinary at Carrington anymore. In fact, it is the norm. Under Ten Hag, while those who have started or played a significant amount of minutes off the bench take part in recovery work the day after United's matches, win, lose or draw, the rest of the squad are made to complete a session of high-intensity fitness drills. Again, there is a lot of running. It's not something Ten Hag's predecessors did. Most coaches prefer to follow games with light training sessions, if there's a session at all. But the idea behind the method is simple enough. It helps to maintain a consistent level of fitness and preparation across the squad. If those left on the sidelines on Saturday only have a lighter session on Sunday, having sat through tactical preparation meetings on the Friday, 3 days of their week are relatively inactive. You could argue that compared against the regular starters, they are only regressing in terms of their fitness. Some of those on the fringes last season who found themselves in Ten Hag's match day +1 sessions would describe them as brutal. Not just the hardest of the week, but some of the hardest that they had experienced in football. Rebel. Mr. B.
Do you think this could be the Varane issue? Because he wants them training at a really high level, doesn't he? Varane knows his own body. The older you get, you know what you can do, you can't do. I'm wondering if this is the issue why Varane hasn't been playing.
I mean, that's a very interesting point. It is speculation, but Rebel, what do you think about this training regime?
I think you have to kind of be looking at it pragmatically. If you were after going through the rigors of an intense football game and you're after exerting yourself and getting that cardio up and doing what you need to do on the pitch, it makes sense then that you're in recovery. But you need to keep the rest of the squad at that level for when they're called upon. If they're involved in a cool down or a recovery session, then they are not getting those intense cardio moments that you'd get on field into their system. So the fact that they've been ran ragged, I think, if you were to look across all the other teams, they're probably doing this. It's just we're not hearing about it because they're not putting their business and their laundry into the public sector. And you're a professional footballer and you haven't played the day before, then you're rightly going to be ran into the ground to get you into that condition.
Yeah, I mean, to me, when I look at this, this sort of like reminds me of a lot of Ten Hag in the fact that it's very good on paper. It makes sense to keep to really work the players and make sure that everyone's up to fitness and stuff. But as someone who does a lot of exercise, has played a lot of football, I would absolutely hate this because I know my body. I know what I can do when I can play, how much I need to run, stuff like that. And I think that if Casemiro and Ronaldo didn't play against Manchester City last year when we lost 6-3, unfortunately. And I would suspect that if you go into the hardest training session of the week and you didn't play, that it irks you. It certainly would for me. And you got to remember that we were playing like 3 times a week last year. So even the reserve, like the players that didn't play, were doing 3 of the hardest sessions that they'd ever done in football a week. And I think this is a concern.
Can I play devil's advocate for a moment and throw something back to maybe to you and maybe to Mr. B? You're a squad member, and as you say, you're not after participating in game 1, game 2, and game 3 of that particular week. And you do normal sessions, as we'll say, those that all the squad is participating in.
Mm-hmm.
You're thrown then into the intensity of a football game, say, in 2 weeks' time, and you haven't undergone those kind of match day simulated training sessions. Are you going to be up to the state and position that you need to be to participate fully in that game?
No, but you wouldn't be even if you did the brutal training sessions because there's no substitute for match practice. Like Ange Postecoglou talked about this the other day when he was asked after the Chelsea game or something about if players were fit enough, and he said everyone in my squad is an athlete and is extraordinarily fit. The difference is that they're not match fit, and you only get match fitness by playing games. And I would think, right, that in training, if you haven't been selected in the squad, you've got to really put a shift into training to make it impossible for the manager to not pick you in the next one. So if you're going out and doing high intensity with the rest of the dirt trackers, how can you show it? Because you have to be completely committed in both training sessions, but one is far, far harder than the others. And I don't think I think it makes sense on paper, but I think it's a really naive way of training a football squad. And Mr. B, you're a manager. Would you be doing this?
No, I wouldn't. To be fair, but maybe that's why he wants a team of younger players, so that they will do the work and not talk back or not chat back, but he's going to get them to the levels where he wants to get them. You understand? So I think maybe that's why he tends to want to work with. I mean, a lot of things have kind of fallen into place attitude-wise with what we've spoken about today, to be fair. Maybe it's a lot, but I'm 2 and 2's making 7 at the moment. But, in my head, it all makes sense. So, yeah.
Can I throw one?
Well, imagine this, Rebel. Imagine, you go into Cristiano Ronaldo and telling him, how he should be preparing himself physically.
Do you know the odd thing is that he's probably a bad example for this particular situation because given what we know about Cristiano Ronaldo, he was going above and beyond and putting himself through these savage sessions anyway to keep himself in the position that he was. But I could take your point for what it's worth. You're talking about one of the top players in the world and you're trying to tell him, look, listen, you didn't play, I'm going to run the lead bejesus out of you.
Nice.
But one thing I would actually consider is, and I don't think they do it as much as they did in the past. Again, when you had a squad and you had a number of players that didn't participate in the match day, there used to be a kind of thing where you used to allow one of your first team players to play that reserve game during that week just to keep him in the match temperament. I'm not sure if that's been done enough anymore.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. But I've been neglecting the comments, I'm afraid. So, first off, we got Rory C saying Ahmed and Palestri seem like the biggest waste of money. Can't see either of them making it. I don't know. We'll see. I think, Rory, that we bought Ahmad and Palestri to make money off them the same way that Chelsea did with their loan system. So the fact that we keep finding loans for them makes me suggest that maybe they're not the biggest waste of money. As Ahmad, I think, only cost us about 18 million, and the rest of it is add-ons and dependency clauses. So we might have done all right with them. But Rajat is saying that he hopes Casemiro, Varane and Bruno don't leave. I think only one of them is staying, Mr. B. And then Emma K. Thing is, Garnacho's been looking a bit weak lately. So if the young ones are any weaker, than Garnacho, they cannot play. So hopefully strength and conditioning can get those young boys up to standard, and I think we're all quite excited about Kobe Mainu coming back, who looks physically developed to me. And then it's Big T. So do we have a situation where if you want to train less, you intentionally perform badly? I think it's probably the other way round in this case, Big T. And we got Hydro, say 150, 300 grand a week. Suck it up and train like beasts. We would if we had the chance to play for Manchester United. I don't like defending the players, but a lot of us are in and around the game, and we know people have made it professional, and the sacrifices and the work that they have done is extraordinary. Look, there's two of me. Bye, Rebel. And then UK Strange saying no pain, no gain. Hydra is saying Rio said the games and training were harder than the Premiership games. That's what we need back at the club. And I agree here with Hydro, Mr. B, because do you remember the reason why we didn't sign Carlos Tevez?
Yeah, his training was terrible. He trained bad.
Yeah, he didn't put any effort in training. Rebel, you're back.
Yeah, I just had to turn down my oven. I have lasagna.
Shouldn't be eating this late at night. Big T is saying, if you can't run for 90 minutes, you don't belong in football. It's as simple as that. You're not telling me City players sit around playing tiddlywinks all week. Well, interestingly, Big T, recently Pep Guardiola said that the majority of his training sessions in the season are about tactics and not physicality. And if you look at what... there's an article in the Manchester Evening News about Jose Mourinho when he came to the club, and he made the players train a bit less but stay at the club for longer. It's highly unusual for anyone in professional football to do what Ten Hag is doing by literally running them all the time. It doesn't seem to happen at other football clubs.
That article wasn't by Sam Lockhurst, was it?
I don't know. Is he on one of your sort of media bias, The Great Conspiracy? Like that Sam Luckhurst, the leader of this evil cabal. Zoe's Media House, who's not the leader of an evil cabal, says that under Sir Alex Ferguson, the training was very intense. Past Man United teams were the fittest in the league. Yeah, couldn't agree more. And Ed Mayhem is saying, when you're playing from the biggest club in the world, you are here or go away. And Regigi is saying, intense training is good if it's the right training. If it's the wrong kind of training for them players, they're not going to do anything with it. And I actually agree with this, that it's a bit like practice. Practice doesn't make perfect, it makes permanent. And so if you're doing something bad and you keep doing it, how are you going to get any better?
Actually, bad time. You mentioned the key point there about players and the right attitude. I think it was Zoe that mentioned in the comments. Evra, when he arrived at Manchester United Football Club, went into book nerd mode and actually studied the history of the club and knew what he was walking into.
Yeah, like I wish we had players with his character now. Like, and he was a bit of a nutter, Evra. Fought with Marseille fans, but he just couldn't doubt his passion. Then Emma Kay has said our own players have said the training was hard, but they liked it. You wouldn't expect them to say anything else, though, would you? And Rory C is saying, was it last year they were giving out leaving training when it was dark? Yeah, all too weak and too used to having it too easy. That's one of my favourite stories about United, is that the players were scared of the dark driving home. Absolutely ridiculous. And we've got Solo here saying, let's get the guys up to 25 likes, 18 in chat now. Brendan is saying physical strength is pointless. Okay. And Ed Mayhem says, can I say big up to @Solo and Amonde? Let's do the game again. I need to do it again.
May. It should be in May, but don't worry, Ed Mayhem. You'll be on the invitation list most definitely. I don't think Solo's going to be there. He's not going to want to pull his hamstring for his new line of work, so he'll probably be on the sideline barking orders. But yeah, we'll definitely get you involved.
Yeah, he doesn't want to do a rebel. I think actually we're going to skip this, but we might do this later in the week. This is just past maps and things from the Luton game, but we're going to get to Old Trafford stays. So Rebel. So Jim Radcliffe has ruled out building a new stadium for Manchester United. Instead, he will consider alternative plans to renovate and expand Old Trafford and improve facilities in and around the ground. Is this as exciting as your lasagna?
I'll be honest with you. From a kind of historic kind of point of view, I'm happy that we're probably considering trying to fix the old girl rather than kick her out of the kitchen. But in terms of Manchester United Football Club, we already have seen the start of the promenade being redone. We've seen hotel football and a few other concourses being redeveloped. So it is kind of exciting that the site of all our history is going to continue to be the site of all our history. Now, I do know that you're going to mention a certain stand that is coming up to a certain train track, and I just want to preempt that by saying there are examples of stadia that have managed to overcome that.
Thanks, Rebel. Mr. B, are you pleased that we're doing the stadium up as opposed to moving away?
Absolutely delighted. I didn't want us to move any. Yeah, I was one of the people who didn't want us to move. There's ways that Tottenham built around this stadium, Real Madrid built on top of this. There's things that can be done. I said you'll explain. Obviously, everybody knows the situation with the trade line, but they built the Eurotunnel. They built a tunnel underwater. So I still can't believe that they can't build a stand over a train line. So I believe something can be done. Maybe it's a money thing, which obviously if it's a United issue, then it's never going to get sorted out. But
yeah,
I think there must be ways that it can be extended. Obviously, you don't want to go too much further up, but then you got to think about the screens. All these new stadiums have got screens in where they've got the VAR sign up. Maybe we don't want the VAR sign because as soon as it comes up, we know we're going to get done.
Yeah, okay.
To be fair, but there's a lot of upgrading that would need to be done. So then where would we be playing? Would they keep it open? Would they try and keep it open for as long as they can? Safety issues, So there's a lot of things that need to be taken into account, to be fair.
Yeah, I agree as well. I mean, I've always wondered where TV screens would go at Old Trafford. When you picture the stadium, I can't see where they would stick up the VAR screen. I'm just unsure, but I, for one, am absolutely delighted that we're looking to stay at Old Trafford, that we're not moving away for a couple of seasons while we redevelop, while we build a new stadium. I hate these modern ashtray stadiums like the Allianz Arena. They lack the character and the soul of a football club. And the Theatre of Dreams is, what a beautiful and poetic name for a stadium. The players certainly don't deserve to play in the Theatre of Dreams at the moment. But this, just to finish with, I went on Google Earth earlier and I got us a nice little picture of Old Trafford from above. And you can see here what the problem is, and it's that train line. Warwick Row, which is the houses that are opposite. I wonder if we could do something similar to Fulham, who their main stand has been closed for almost 2 years now. Which is extraordinary for a Premier League football club. If we could buy those buildings up and somehow try and redevelop around the side of the train line, but that's one of the main freight train lines in the country. And you can see all the space around. You can see hotel football. I imagine, Rebel, that Gary Neville is celebrating wildly tonight that Old Trafford isn't moving, because who's going to go to hotel football if Old Trafford's not there?
Absolutely, yeah, that makes perfect sense because he's put a significant investment into positioning himself next to the ground. And actually, interestingly, it was a venture that he did brought to our current owners, and they turned him down. So they turned away potential massive profits, which is unusual for them. But in terms of the stadium itself, we have seen other examples of stadia overcoming train tracks, and there's a couple of stadiums that have quite successfully made us train their back wall, their stand actually have a tunnel for the tracks to remain. So it can be done with proper engineering and proper consultation. Now, as to the costing of such a venture, it depends on whether that makes business sense to those that are undertaking those redevelopments. But I think in terms of Old Trafford and closing it, we have seen Liverpool quite successfully redevelop Anfield without ever having to play a game outside of Anfield.
Yeah, I mean, and also like if we're doing like Euro tunnels and all this sort of stuff, like the Bobby Charlton stand has to be closed, surely, whilst it's being done. I think in a previous show we found an interview with Arnold where he talked about after a architecture company was hired in April of last year, that they said it would be a multi-season project to update parts of Old Trafford due to the amount of machinery needed and it having to be cleared by match day. So this might be a very long and arduous refurb, as it were. But it's our stadium, it's our club, and I can't wait to see it shining in all its glory. Old Trafford is a cathedral around the world to football, and it's just such a wonderful place, even if from this picture it just looks like a giant car park.
Can I ask a question then, Battime, before you move away from it? Is the easiest solution then to maybe take a season rental in another ground while we just have uninterrupted works on the old girl and get it done in one go?
So I call this the Wembley theory, which is that if that happens, like the club have ruled out a ground share with Liverpool and Man City, who are the nearest stadiums with the capacity like fit for Manchester United. I am of the opinion that if that happens, the most sense is to play at the Millennium Stadium or at Wembley, and with the huge support of people like Mr. B, Amonde and Solo in London. I mean, it'd be sold out every weekend, but on the same time, I don't think it's right for Manchester United not to play in Manchester. So I don't know, and I'm sure that we're all very grateful that I'm not in charge of these decisions. But Mr. B, would you want a Wembley, like Old Trafford, Wembley Old Trafford?
No, I play. My football team plays in Wembley on a Saturday. I don't need the headache of all those hundreds of thousands of people on my doorstep. So no, they need to deal with it. Deal with it up north. Deal with it up the north, and then we'll see what happens. Wembley's for the finals. The finals.
You left out one possible ground. What about the Toffees?
Well, Everton.
Everton.
The new one.
That's a 52,000 seater.
Maybe. I mean, I just don't think we can play in Liverpool. Just safety concerns for one and things. I'm not sure, but it'll be interesting to see what happens. And we're going to finish up with some comments now. The first is incredible to me, but Andrei Kanchelskis is in "I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here," according to Zoe.
Can somebody actually deny or confirm that, please?
It's true.
Really? Oh, wow. With Nigel Farage? What a mix! Farage and Kanchelskis, far right wingers. And then we got Regigi. Turn the Theatre of Dreams into a 100,000 seater stadium. Brendan is saying, who is bottom when it comes to fouls? Which club? I don't know if he means receiving or giving. scrap the train platform at HS2 ain't coming anyway. Nice. Old Trafford needs a real rebuild. Move it away from the train line. This is actually something I did wonder if it's possible. If you could just pop Old Trafford on wheels and just move it across. Like, they can do that with houses and things. Like, maybe just move it, like, 50 yards. But Gary Neville would go mental. Yeah. And then Darren Tubbs with his curtains is saying it's good you stay in your home. It's about heritage. I couldn't agree more. We've got Big T saying create height from digging down. Have the pitch lower, creating space for more seats. God, there's some really good creative thinking in here, Rebel. Old Trafford is over 115 years old. It's falling down. And then Brendan is saying, Man United is quite high when it comes to fouls. That's our problem. We kill the flow of the game ourselves. And here's Vincent. Hello, Vincent. You're also forgetting there's houses at the back of that railway line. The people who live there may say we don't want it going any higher, it being so we won't be able to see anything. All right, I understand what you mean, but I think there'll be, I think there'll be a compulsory purchase order if that happens. Let's rent Everton's old ground and put middle fingers up to the Reds across the park. Another sensible suggestion. And I can't read some of what Edmund's written, but I really like it. But I can accept Sir Bobby and Alex stands have been sorted out, but never stadium renamed. I'm really sorry, Ed Mayhem. I agree with you, but I'm pretty sure that Old Trafford is going to be the Ineos Old Trafford. It's happened. It's happened at Barcelona. It's going to happen at Real Madrid. It's happened at Arsenal. It will happen at the new Liverpool Stadium. It's just unfortunate the times that we live in. I feel like we're ending on a bit of a downer. Mr. B, bring me some happiness, please. Brilliant.
Yeah. See, look, we're Edson smiling. See, as much as it was down, we went in with grins on our faces. No, I enjoyed that today. I'm liking our little PowerPoint. It says, look, guys. Obviously, you know we are on a 2-week international football break, so Bath Time's come up with a few day fillers. If you lot have got anything else that you fancy, just drop it in a tweet and let us know, or stick it on the comments at the bottom of the show, and we'll see what we can do for you.
Yeah, I think we've got some. I think we've actually got some good content coming up, because even though it's International Week, there's going to be huge stuff going on about the takeover, rumours are saying, and gives us the opportunity to try some new things. So I've got a couple of things in the pipeline. I believe that Dora will be with us on Thursday. It's always fun when Dora's on shouting in Slavic at me. But yeah, that's all we've got. Unless anyone's got any other points to make, Rebel.
I will just say there is a positive, and even though we don't like it, to renaming Old Trafford, it is a huge commercial income that could be used to rectify certain issues that we have in order to address playing squad, etc. It's not going to be an easy pill to swallow, but think about the long-term gain on the football pitch.
Oh, for God's sake, Rebel! It's a downer again.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I've got a really fun quiz that I'm going to work on tomorrow. That is for everyone, in chat, and it's all about the Premier League and crazy stories. So I hope that that's something to watch out for. But it is good night from me.
Sloan.
If I get myself off mute, and me too. Well done.
Good night, everyone.